rate really isn't that important. That's why I keep it low at about 2 frames per second. Okay? Are we killing our storage recording all the time at 2 frames a second? 2 pictures? No, we're not crushing our storage at all. It's insurance video. So I'll set that. Notice the number. The bitrate range recommended from basically 2 to 3.5 megabit currently at 8 frames. I'm going to dump that down to 2 frames per second. Number's much lower now. Okay? In terms of the bitrate mode, by default it's going to come as general, which just gives you a general drop down. I'm the engineer, so I like to be a little bit more precise, or at least think of myself that way. I'm going to leave it at customize, and I'm going to select a number in that range. That's the number you play with. Now, since it's insurance video, it really doesn't have to be at the highest. I have it probably around 1200 would be the number I'd select there for my bitrate. Do you have to do this for every single camera? No. Copy, exactly.
Now this is only for the recording and not the stream?
The mainstream is the stream we're recording. The substream we'll get to in a minute. That's for live viewing.
Oh, you're, okay.
And streaming multiple cameras remotely.
When you change the bitrate, the quality is going to change as well. The brightness of the phone changes. When you change the bitrate.
Well, the bitrate's the amount of data that we're allowing to come from the camera. So again, on the left-hand side, this is continuous. We're lowering it down because it's just really insurance video, in my opinion. Okay? We'll get into that in a little bit. Okay, so that's the left-hand side. On the right-hand side, you'll notice that 3 of these areas are grayed out. They're dependent on what's on the left, the continuous. We can't change that. In terms of our frame rate, for most residential and small business applications, what do you think a good frame rate is? 15. 15 is a little high.
7, 8. 7, 8.
8 to 12 is what we recommend. 8 to 12. So 8 on the low end, 12 on the high, depending on the customer. Does 10 frames a second or 12 frames a second look choppy? Anybody? Who here still programs their systems to 30 frames per second? Anybody? You're doing an LPR application, even 60. I've done work in corrections. I've done work in casinos. I've done work in financial institutions like the Chicago Mercantile Exchange. Those 3 are the only applications where you need 30 frames, from my work experience. You know, the trading floors, when the guys are trading and they're still, I don't know why they're still doing this in the age of computers, but they're yelling at each other, throwing stuff and saying, buying 6 or 8 or whatever. When there's a discrepancy, they go back to the tape and they play it back at 30 frames per second, as opposed to grandma walking up the driveway where you don't necessarily need that to catch her equipment.
So, when you're selling, like, cameras, like a high-end home, and they're paying for, like, video quality, and, like, I feel like frame rate. Is there a way?
You feel like they're paying for frame rate?
Well, I mean, they want to see, like, the highest possible quality video. Frame rate is part of that.
Well, quality is, I mean,
You notice it, though, to an extent. Like, you'll see, like...
That's your decision. Again, my recommendation is 8 to 12. Now, with frame rate, the bit rate goes up, which means your storage requirement goes up.
Right.
So, if it's a bid job, it might get bid out of it. Most of the time when I see it on a spec, it's from an engineer that's like 125 years old. I've been doing it. It's an analog thing. Whenever I see 30 frames per second on a spec, I'm just like, this guy doesn't know what he's doing. That's the first thing I do. It's not to say you can't do it. I'm not saying you can't do these things. I'm just not recommending it because you're driving the cost.
No, I'm just saying somebody asked for it. It had to be done or whatever. Eventually, they ran out of storage and it had to be reduced, but they had asked for it.
Yeah. Oh, people ask for it. They'll also ask for, I'm sure, crazy things. I mean, they want to stream, you know, 15 cameras at full frame rate, everything on their 3G connection on their
Over
screen.
4 megapixels.
So reality sets in because they realize Minority Report isn't like today.
If you had a parking garage and you wanted the license plate on moving cars, you know.
Well, that's an entirely different application. So LPR applications, license plates are reflective. You first have to combat that. Okay, you can do it with shutter speed, things like that. Next, you got to close in the angle that you're looking at, because if you're looking at distance, you can't use a 2.8 millimeter lens and expect to have any kind of detail at more than 20 feet. So you need to have a lens that's going to accompany that, and in addition to that, high frame rate, like 60 frames per second is what you're going to see in an LPR application, like a real LPR camera,
Right.
and that's why they cost $1200.
Even if you hit pause and frame advance, to actually be able to read it.
You can adjust settings in a standard camera that's not specifically designed for LPR and compensate enough where it may work.
Right. I have had some success with it.
Yeah, no, there's plenty of success stories using a standard camera, but is it designed for, yeah, you're gonna want the higher frame rates in that kind of application, but, you know, the bulk of the stuff that's out there, you know, I'm out to sell cameras, not 2 or 3, I wanna sell 2,000 or 3,000, you know, a day, if I can. But yes, we are working on a US specific LPR. The problem is that the United States has like 8 billion different style license plates, including Long Island's got like 50 of them, I think.
Maryland is different.
Yeah. Like Europe, you see the plates and they're like, a little different ballgame. Anyway, so my recommendation in terms of frame rate, again, for continuous 2 frames, bumping up to between 8 and 12 on an event. Okay, so we'll use 12 here. And the range that it's recommending is between 3 and 5. Since that's, you know, when motion's occurring in the scene, that's when there's more detail going on. That's where I would want my additional ability to forensically look at the picture. I'm going to go up to closer to the higher end. So I would be like at 48, between 4,800 and almost like all 5 grand.
Sir, when you're compressing at 265 plus, obviously are the cameras consuming more power because they're using more compression?
Not more power. There's always a trade-off with everything in video surveillance. There's always a trade-off. So, hey, we got better compression, but guess what? What's the other side of compression? Decoding.
Right, so you need more horsepower for decoding.
PC's got to work a lot harder to decode that video. So there's always a balance there. You're getting more storage, but on the other end, you might have to buy like, you know, a quad i7 or something like that.
Right, or a good video part.
Video card's part of it.
So when you guys specify some video calls,
will they notice a difference in quality? Not quality. So any advanced compression algorithm, what it's doing is it's not helping you at all in a scene with a lot of motion. It's just not. You're flatlining there. You're getting exactly. But if there's really very little motion in the scene, that's where you stand to benefit from a lot of those advanced compression algorithms. So, you know, in terms of the decoding part of it, CPU is, I don't know how well advanced our 4200 software is to take advantage of advanced feature sets built into video cards, but obviously you're going to want something that, I mean, I always tell people, build a gamer PC. That's how you want to design it, because essentially that's what you want. It's frame rates, it's, you know, decoding. I don't have an exact spec of advanced compression. We can talk about it a little bit more later. So, are we good? Good, going? Okay, so I've applied those settings. I can apply them to the balance of my cameras. The next step is what I want to do is I want to set my substream correctly. Sometimes out of box, the substream's bitrate is set to like 1024. That's like a full megabit per camera. So the way to start thinking about these things is, how is my customer using the system? I have a customer that has a grocery store in Amagansett, and they wanted to stream 64 cameras to their offices in Pawtucket, and they didn't have the bandwidth to do it. They just didn't. So how did I compensate for that? I went to my substream. What I'm going to recommend you do for most applications is you can do the max resolution, 3 bars of quality, 10 frames a second is fine. Make sure the bit rate is no higher than 512 kilobits per second. So that's basically, when you think about it, when you're streaming video, you go to your customer's house or business, you go to speedtest.net, and you determine what their upload speed is, because that's what's going to determine how much video they can send up in the up to remote users. And you're gonna look at it, you're gonna say, okay, I'm dealing with about a half a megabit per camera required. So if they have a 64 camera system, think 32 megabits of data for all the cameras. Going over that, that's worst case scenario, because we're using a variable bit rate, being that more data comes in when there's motion in the scene, not as much when, but you gotta always consider worst case scenario. All right? I know I'm boring myself here. But based on my recommended settings, again, highest resolution, we're going to do 10 frames a second, 3 bars of quality. Again, cap it out at no higher than 512. With the supermarket example, where the customer didn't have enough bandwidth to support the application, she was looking at 64 cameras on a single 20-inch monitor. That's all about situational awareness, because of course you can tell what's going on when everything is this big, right? So that being the case, what I had to do was I lowered the bit rate to about 192, and I took the resolution of the image down to the lowest. I think that's 1/5. So can you tell the difference between a 4K image and a 1/5 image when it's this big? Can you tell? Can you tell the difference?
Monitors your limitation.
Exactly. So it's all relative to what the customer has in front of them. Okay. Next, motion detection, again, pretty standard. If you've installed a recorder in the last 30 years, that's kind of what it looks like. You have this little grid. The insurance video I'm talking about is when the camera's not picking up motion when someone off in the distance walks from here to here, and they're traversing without triggering the motion, that's when you're still recording 2 frames a second. If you're gridding out an area, for example, if you have a bunch of trees up here, blowing in the wind all day long. When someone comes walking through here, are you still recording?
No.
You're recording, but if you're doing continuous, are you still recording?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. At what frame rate?
2 frames.
Right. And then when they trigger the motion zone, we're up to 8 to 12, based on my recommendation. Unless you want to record at 30, go ahead. But before and after, by default, 5 seconds before the motion was detected in the grid and 5 seconds after it's no longer seen, you're still recording at the higher frame rate. Got it?
Right.
Makes sense? So that's default. So you're not seeing someone walk into a room, stutter stepping, and all of a sudden it's fast. It's completely smooth. Okay. Motion detection, we went over that. What do we not do with motion detection? Link it to email. Correct. That's what we avoid doing. All right, next, trigger channel. So with triggers, what you can do is you have your normally open, normally closed contacts on the 8 channel. I think you get 4 triggers. You can light up. Yeah, you get 4. You'll notice IP addresses associated with 2 of them. Some of these cameras have pigtails that have relays, audio, et cetera, depends on the camera model. Make sense? All right, so that being said, if I select local 1 here, I select this set to normally closed, and I enable him, what I can do, you want to give it a name. You can associate cameras with a contact. So if I have a contact on that door there, and I have 3 cameras in this room, when that contact breaks, what I can do is link those cameras to that contact. Anytime someone walks in the room after 5 p.m. and I want a snapshot of it, or a notification, I put a schedule on it, and then my linkage actions again. These systems can be very, very simple or very complex. It's entirely up to you how you want to set them up. My job is to make sure you're aware of the feature set. All right. Finally, holiday, no one uses that.
I know this is very granular. Is there any way to send a copy of profiles and do everything at once or no?
Oh, all right. So it's a good question. The gentleman brought up, if you can actually back up your settings on the recorder. Under maintenance, I believe there's an option to back up your settings, import, export, and you can save a copy. The problem with that is, so I'm working with a 7608 NI E2, and I walk up to a 7608 NI I2. Plug it in, not going to work. So you got to remember same rules apply with the software. If you back up your config with version 2.4.2 and then you go up to another system that's 2.6.2, might not work.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So
what happens when you upgrade the
I've had that happen to me, and I had to dig through the zip file and delete certain things.
Really?
Finally got it to work.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, so you be careful.
Yeah, I got it.
Okay, so we did recording configuration. Any questions on recording configuration?
Yes, real quickly again,
One second.
I think I've tried that one time. I know how to do motion or continuous recording. When you want to set up like that, how do you set up the continuous recording?
That was it, what we just did. So basically, when I'm set in continuous mode, it automatically will only record 2 frames a second where the camera didn't see motion.
Okay, but you have to put it set on the recording and continuous set?
It's not continuous by default, out of the box, it's continuous. You would have to change it to event only. So continuous means,
Yeah, I have done that.
yeah, continuous means that we're recording no matter what, whether the camera sees motion or not, at 2 frames per second. That's the way we set it up. When the camera sees an event, and 5 seconds before that event, it's going to record at the event stream, which is on the right-hand side there. Okay? If you have questions, you can bring it up later.
and that's with keeping the, go back to the previous page, that's with keeping the setting, the top setting on continuous, and then on the grid, changing that to event.
No. Don't bother with the top. Just do coloring. That's what I tell people. So you're going to leave it. That's the default. The way you see it right now, I didn't change anything. That's the default. If you want to do only event, only when the camera sees motion, then you would color it all in yellow.
Right, and still leave the top.
Yeah, don't mess with the top. Don't even bother with it.
Okay.
So are you confused by that?
No, it's just that I've always, since it does get confusing, I've always changed both of them.
Oh, yeah. You see, you're doing twice the work.
Right. Well, I mean,
The grid shows you Monday through Sunday. The left-hand side is every one shot. There it goes. The whole week.
So if I wanted to just do event, I would color it in like that.
Can you still the continuous?
Yes, you just do event.
The event. Now, there's this tricky question that says, you have continuous on the frame, and then add the event.
That's, if you have to have it on continuous then.
So you gotta have to continuous, then add the event. That's the confusing.
I think the confusing thing here is, with continuous, okay, you see the left-hand side, continuous recording is all of it.
Uh-huh.
So this means no motion,
Okay, so let's answer it.
Guys, myself and Tim highly recommend record 1-2 frames a second all the time.
Yeah, we did that.
Again, storage is cheap, storage is plentiful. It's not like back in the day when it was expensive and small. You're not burning up a lot of disk space by recording 1 frame a second all the time. Pumping up to 8 to 12. You're just making a lot of extra work by just doing just motion and grids. Just leave it out of the box in blue, make your life easy.
and if the customer only wants to watch back on event, he can do event playback, and it would only show him events. You know, I have managers at parking garages that.
We'll get into that in playback.
Okay.
All right, so that's recording, getting there, guys, we're getting there. I'm gonna skip BCA search because it's not really relevant right now. Okay, so file management is where you're gonna come when you're approached by a lawyer or someone from law enforcement or whoever that wants a ton of video from, like, say, they want all the video from cameras 1 and 2 last Friday and Saturday. What you're gonna do is you're gonna come here, you're gonna select the cameras in question, you're gonna select recording type all, then you're gonna select the associated tape. To say I wanted June 1st through 3rd, there's probably no video there because I don't think I have training on those videos. But at any rate, you would just run a quick search, actually, let me keep it more relevant. When I search, it's gonna give me a grid with all the thumbnails. I can search through those thumbnails, or if I want, I have a list here that I can reference. All different file sizes based on the amount of motion that occurred during that period of time. And what I can do is I can export all the video if necessary, or I can export specific clips. Probably be easier to do the clips if you have the previews. Make sense? Exporting video is pretty simple. You just throw in a thumb drive or an external USB drive. Some of our units are eSATA capable.
And you could do that from remote
Yeah, remotely it's a little different because you're actually re-recording the recording. So if you log in with a web browser and you go into the remote playback option, you're pulling up the camera. When you get to the point that you want, there's a little record icon. It's a little red icon in the lower section of the video. And you're basically, within the web browser, when you log into the site, on the local configuration option, you're specifying where the files are going when you hit that record button. So you're going to specify a directory like desktop/video files or whatever. Same thing with IBM S4200, the software. There's a little record button in the lower right-hand corner of the screen. So you're re-recording the recording.
There's no way to just pull the transmit from the recorder to.
There's a piece of
Is there
software.
like an import, like I thought, like from the.
You can. There's a remote. You can pull like a remote backup utility. That's in our tool suite. If you go to tech.hikvisionusa.com, under the Hikvision tools section, there's a suite on that. It's just a remote backup package, essentially. But if you're doing bulk recording, if you're pulling like gigs and gigs of video, come on. Yeah. Okay, so next we have event searches. So this is kind of nice actually. So if you're utilizing our VCAs, our video content analytics, what you can actually do is you can search for specific analytics during specific time periods. So for example, what I'll do here is I'll select a start time. I'll go back to, February. And I'll search for 5 seconds before and 5 seconds after. I think 30 seconds is just too much on a trigger. Anyway, I can select the cameras in question, the event type. I'll select VCA, and I can get really specific about it and say, I want to see any time there was an intrusion detection, or that box we drew earlier, between February and now, okay? So I'll run a search for that on all my cameras, and it'll come back with any time an intrusion detection was triggered. Pretty nice feature. So in these little scenes, you're going to see me waving like an idiot, setting it off. There we go. That's the guy. Trying to get the box. Here's another one. Just setting off the analytics. If I want to select all these and export them, I can do that. Pretty straightforward stuff. And that brings us to our standard playback screen. So normal playback is probably what you're most used to. You've seen this before. Everything with us is color-coded, by the way. So you select the camera. You select the date that you want. The bottom here, this timeline in blue, is associated with continuous recording. So this system isn't set up all the time, therefore you don't see a straight blue line across the bottom of the screen, which would indicate continuous recording. If you were just recording events, it would be in yellow. Standard controls at the bottom. Move through the scene. If you'd like to create a clip at any point in time, if you saw something that occurred and you want to save it, basically what you're doing is you're rewinding a little bit. You like to use the mouse here. This little button in the lower left-hand corner, I know some of you in the back might not be able to see. Start clipping. You hit it again to stop clipping. When you're ready to write your clip to disk, the file management button there in the corner. So if I made my clip, I'm going to start, stop, file management, and it's going to show the clip that I made. You can do this multiple times over and over. When you have everything you need, you can say export all, or just select the specific ones that you want and export them. And that'll go to a USB stick most commonly. No, we don't sell DVD burners.
Sorry to play on that. What? You don't need to download any player for it, just automatically.
It comes with a PC version of our player, which will show you the watermark of the video, making it admissible in courtrooms. What's that?
They just take the hard drive. They be generous and do the hard drive, and I got 2 attempted players, and just taking the hard drive. Hey, see you later.
Backup.
I'm not a lawyer.
and that was fine, Here it is.
Any questions about normal playback? Okay, in addition, we have something called smart playback, okay? So this is, someone had a question before about how to search post-event or after the fact to see what might have happened in a specific area. So what I can do with that is I go in the upper left-hand corner from normal and select smart playback. Some of this is off the screen, I apologize. But in smart playback, basically what you're doing, you start playing back a camera. We'll go back to this bit over here. You'll notice on the bottom here, instead of just blue, you also see this green hash at the bottom. That indicates that there was motion somewhere in the scene. That's not super helpful, right? You want to know a specific area, maybe? That's me answering emails. So off the screen, you have this draw quadrilateral option. I'm going to draw a box here. And I can run a search against that. And all of a sudden, you see that that line broke up a bit. Okay? So I can search for maybe a more specific area. That's a different day. I'm going to get something more specific for you guys. A little bit difficult with it all the time. Little tabletop shots. That's right there. It's a whole bunch of different rooms. There we go. That might work. Find the draw quadrilateral.
Your class is off.
Yeah, pretty well. So I'm going to draw a box over here.
Mount that TV.
Not me.
That's a long map.
That's there we are. Thank you, sir. Okay, so we'll draw a box here. 1, 2, 3, 4. And again, notice the blue accompanied by the green hash in the lower right-hand corner. You can actually expand on that a little bit, make it a little bit more visible. We're going to run a search against that. And notice how the hash marks broke up. So that's going to show me anytime there was motion in that. Now, mind you, this is sitting on a table and the camera's rolling around. I might bump the table so that'll trigger it, but just letting you know. I'm going to skip non-related video and have it jump. So you see, the gentleman's in the scene. So, nice way to search after the fact.
You just right-click to select, skip.
So I went to this little wrench guy here.
Oh, okay.
Skip the non-related video.
When you have on right-click options, like, you have a whole host of menus when you right-click to do stuff?
Here?
Yeah, if you just right-click.
No. That'll bring you back to the previous menu.
Oh, okay.
So this is just searching for any kind of motion in that little quadrilateral area.
They talk about the facial for retail, like, catch people coming in and out of the store.
Yeah.
Well, that,
So
is there an
before you go any further, real quick, there's a huge difference between facial detection and facial recognition.
Right.
So,
Can that be used in something like this, a smart playback, to see that same person in a retail setting?
there is
You
a,
catch them in the store
So-
coming in and you want to see if they shoplifted, can you use a smart playback for that same, with that same?
it's not built into the smart playback, but the event search we did before. So if we're going from file management, we go to events, and we go to VTA. With the advanced cameras, there's face detection, and that'll show you anytime there's a face detected in a given scene. So if it's just doors, and there's a lot of traffic, like at the mall, you're just gonna get zillions of hits. But, you know, that's a face versus that's John. It's like, I actually saw facial recognition, like a demo of the equipment. It was like, they did it for door systems, it was like $3 grand per door. So,
We have jail.
Yeah, so, and I think there's like criteria built in when they build out, you know, the pattern or whatever. I think they measure your eyes, your nose, and all this other stuff, but how do you take that out? Before your friends have to.
Right.
Exactly.
They use that in casinos for people who are blacklisted, right?
Until I moved 21.
Is that real? I mean, it was one movie, but
I think a lot of the analytics are, I mean, to date, they're great in concept, but a lot of it's still science fiction. You know, it's not to the point where, you know, it's identifying, putting up advertisements. Maybe we'll see that in our lifetime, but it's not quite there yet. Smart tracking is the same thing. The PTDs, it's a great solution if it fits the application. But if you have multiple moving objects, like it's a street in Brooklyn, forget about it.
I always tell people the smart detection is good if you're going into control headquarters and get smart. You know, that hallway after hallway.
Yep.
Hallway, you good.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not sold on all the analytics. The ones I really like are the intrusion and line cross. Those are the ones that work the best, I think, in most applications. But we do have a full suite. So you're welcome to tinker. If you want to buy PTD, we got a Christmas card. Questions, guys?
On the second screen, when you put like, when you like searching for like certain text, like you put like circle or.
I'm sorry?
When you draw something, you search on it, right? On previous screen.
Yep.
Can you like
Smart search engine?
smart search?
Yeah.
Is it like by day or like to do it like from day 1 to day 30, let's say?
So, what are you trying to
If
do?
you do a smart search, you draw an angle like whatever, and like you pick like multiple days or just like day by day.
You do smart search across multiple days,
Day
one
at a
day at a time.
It's a data.
Definitely.
It's the day you select on the calendar,
Right.
it's not like a whole grid. But on our software, there's what's called, see, we're not consistent with all our terminology, unfortunately. Within 4200, there's something similar to Smart Search. It's called VCA search. VCA stands for Video Content Analysis or Analytics, based on who you're talking to. Questions? I'm here.
Are we gonna go through remote software on PCs today, or is that not?
That's just like the intro class.
Okay, that's.
But if you have a question you want to ask me at the end.
If we want to actually switch the D1, D2 with camera to which one, can we just unplug and deactive, delete all of the camera and then we start in one by one to make the order? Like before we set the D1,
Yeah,
D2.
I mean, it'd probably be helpful before you introduce them to a plug and play, just because this particular unit is hypersensitive to pulling and replugging. It's not an analog system. It's not designed like that. Because every time I pull a camera out, it loses power. And then you've got to reboot again, and the switch remembers the MAC address that was last plugged into port. So when you start flipping them around, you could cause problems. If you want, like,
If you delete them and then you put it back.
the easiest way to reorder them is right here. That's the easiest way to do it. D1, D2 is just, it doesn't matter. Why would it matter? Tell us.
The only thing is the playback and the live view is if it's different.
Right, so if I'm playing back a camera, if I'm a customer and I'm playing back a camera, I go into my playback, I'm looking at LTS, camera 1, you know, rather than D1, D2, what they should be looking at is the name of the camera, right? I mean, I don't know why you would try to memorize which camera's D1 and which one's D16 or.
Because they watch the live view all the time. They know which one is 1, which one is 2. And so here is all different. Maybe they never look at the label.
To me, I mean, I don't know. To me, it makes more sense to have it labeled with a name.
No problem to relabel them though, right, on the software.
No, I mean, you can it's very simple to relabel the name. It's just, you go into camera setup and OSD, and you change the name. But,
issue.
I mean, I don't quite understand why people